All right, friends, it's Team On. We're back with another brand new video backed by popular demand in the comment section. I was asked to make a video on this twice already, so I guess this is the video. I'm not sure. I don't know if it was on Nash Joke It, because I'm actually uploading a video on that one already, but it's not not the interview with him and Joke It. So I'm going to do this video, which he posted, Anthony Chafee, MD, the carnivore doctor dude. So in this video, Anthony Chafee says 92% fail carnivore until they fix this. Well, I'll tell you a thing. A lot of people fail it because they really don't understand. I have this problem myself. I know what the problem is. I haven't even watched the video yet, and I bet you I know what the problem is. Fat. A lot of people have fat. I've talked about this. Even in my video, I said, remember rabbit? Rabbit, people asked me something recently. They were talking over here to me. They were asking me, we were talking about some meat and eating food. And they said, what about rabbit? I said, if you were to eat rabbit, you would die because you would get rabid and die. Get it? In other words, you need fat in your diet. That's a big problem. You start having diarrhea. You don't feel well. You lose energy. You need energy. I need a lot of fat in my diet. Believe me, bro. I have to drink. I just have to have a lot of milk. I drink a lot of milk to keep up with the fat, like homogenized milk. It has to be as fat as possible. I still eat. I still drink raw goat's milk, but it's fermented. That's just for the health benefits that you get off of it. But I cannot buy raw milk here, like just absolute raw milk. Like it's expensive to eat, to drink fermented raw milk all the time. If I could just get real like raw cow's milk, that would be great, man. But the best I could get is homogenized milk. So I need a lot of fat in my diet. Otherwise, I feel terrible. So I eat a lot of fatty fish. That was one thing I transitioned to, especially if I go down to the buffet and I go and eat there, I need a lot of fatty fish, man. And so I don't just eat at the buffet. I also eat at restaurants too. Sometimes I eat at the buffet lunch, but then in the evening I go down to like, there's another place down here, a restaurant place, whatever, and I go there and I eat there as well, man. So yeah, and I do eat breakfast in the morning. I might eat some eggs in the morning, or I might eat meat or something or whatever.
So are carnivores supposed to be low fat all of a sudden? There's this weird trend going around the internet saying that if you do a carnivore diet, you should be doing a low fat carnivore diet because wild animals are very lean and therefore our ancestors would have only eaten.
No, absolutely not. I noticed a lot of people say that. They go, you should eat lean meat. They're always promoting lean meat or lean cuts of turkey or lean chicken. No, I told people eat the skin. That's the collagen right there. That's collagen. You're going to get the collagen from the skin. But you need fatty meat, and chicken is just too lean, and so is turkey and these other animals. They're too lean. You need a lot of fat, animal fat in your diet, trust me. And if you don't get it, you're going to start craving like milk all of a sudden. You're going to be drinking that like crazy.
Meat. This is demonstrably false. What they're referring to is that the muscle bodies themselves are lean and don't have the marbling that we see in domesticated animals. However, they have the same amount of fat, if not more, in their subcutaneous fat, in their abdomen, and around their organs. Some of their organs in their abdomen, such as the omentum, is entirely made out of fat. The mesentery, which is the blood supply to the intestines, is entirely covered in fat as well, and there's fat around the kidneys, etc. So there's quite a lot of fat. In healthy animals, they would have more fat. In starving animals, sure, they would be more lean because they weren't as successful. So if you're just looking at the lean muscle body, then you're going to miss the entirety of the fat in the rest of the animal. Also, why are we talking about the lean animals that we see today? We say that a deer doesn't have all that much fat, of course, omitting all that fat that you've now skinned off of it, taken off the outside, and taken all that fat out of the abdomen and just left there and taken all the lean meat back. So you think that it doesn't have fat in it traditionally, which of course it does. But these are not the types of animals that our ancestors would have eaten historically. We were eating.
Yeah, exactly. We eat big animals, man, and they're fatty because they live out in nature. They're healthy. We're eating domesticated animals and being fed all kinds of weird food.
Megafauna. We were eating mammoths. We were eating whales.
Yeah, we weren't eating cows. This is something. It's unusual to be eating cows as a hunter. Why would you hunt a cow? A cow is easy to kill, man.
eating giant bears and giant sloths and these other sorts of animals that had a very high proportion of fat to their body weight, and we kept all that fat. But even just look at modern animals today that humans traditionally hunt in carnivorous populations, such as the Inuit. They're eating whales, they're eating seals, they're eating polar bears. These are very high in fat, and the Inuit
Dude, they eat a lot of fat, man. That's for sure.
eat up to 50% of their food by weight as fat, which can be 3 or 4 grams of fat per gram of protein. So you're talking 90% calories from fat or more. What about the Native Americans in the Great Plains who predominantly ate buffalo and bison? Well, they did a buffalo drop once per year generally, and they would scare an entire herd of buffalo over a cliff, and they would harvest those bodies for the rest of food for the rest of the year. They would take all the fat that they could and they would render it down to tallow. They would dry the meat and powder it, and they would mix the two together in equal proportions by weight, and this would make pemmican, and this is what they would eat for the rest of the year. That's 2 grams of fat to 1 gram of protein. That's 80% calories from fat. So how are we saying that our ancestors ate low fat? Because
Yeah, I eat more fat than I eat protein. I mean, I eat a lot of protein, a lot of animals, I guess, animal products, but I eat a lot of fat. Oh my God. The craving is like through the roof. I think that's the reason why people, they tend to add butter. They eat butter because they need to add more fat in their diet. So they start eating butter as a substitute. I don't really eat butter that much. I have butter, but it's not something I just, like I said, if I ever cook anything, it's usually in butter. I never use seed oils. Um, yeah, but butter, yeah, you cook with it, but I don't really consume butter. I don't know. I could, I guess. I do like butter's great though. Tastes great. I don't know. It's nice. I mean, the thing is, when I used to eat bread, like I used to eat rye bread when I was a kid. I liked butter on bread for sure. But why did they give it to you on bread? Because slave food diet, get it? You crave the butter, not really the bread. But it's a nice combo with the bread, right?
somebody went hunting one time and they found the deer didn't have all that much fat after they cut all the fat off of it. People talk about how it's only in modern eras that we bred these animals to be fattier, but that's because we are used to fattier animals. We're used to eating mammoths and whales and other high fat animals, many of which died out with the end of the last ice age with some sort of cataclysmic event that wiped out megafauna across all the different continents across the globe. So then we tried to get the next biggest animals, like cows, and breed them to be fatter and also get the fat from their milk in order to increase our fat content because fat was so important for us.
Yes, that's what happened to me. I agree with him. I agree with Dr. Shafee. Everything he says is true. I just go off my senses and my instincts to survive. Like when I was going, like previously, when I just started going back to eating just meat products, I ate a lot of steak, but there just wasn't enough fat, and I just wasn't I wasn't really all there, and I kept having like some diarrhea issues or something. I don't know what was going on there. Maybe it was a transition. Maybe I wasn't feeling well. I wasn't sure. Then I realized, I have to eat more fat. And then, I discovered like, hey, they got like raw, fish here, fatty fish, right? So I should eat a lot of fatty fish first. So I eat tons of that and get a lot of my, fatty fats from the fatty fish. And I would eat the, what do you call it? The shrimp and stuff and get some fats from that, and then I would consume the meat, the steak and everything at the end. And anything else that I wanted after that, I would just go look around for other things, maybe eat some spare ribs or something or whatever, put it on my plate. Some additional stuff that I wouldn't usually eat, I'd just eat that. Yeah, as long as I got my fats in first. And then, even when I got home from the buffet, I would have like a liter of like milk, and I would just down a whole liter of milk still. I will constantly consume fat because I just need it in my diet. And it doesn't make you fat. You actually get leaner and leaner, is what I noticed. The more fat you introduce in your diet, the leaner you get and the better you look, stronger you become. This thing shut off.
In order to
So yeah, just the better you look and the stronger you are adding these fats to your diet. So yeah, gotta agree with everything he says, man.
increase our fat content because fat was so important for us. All you have to do is look at the nutritional content in fat. You have D3, K2, vitamin A, you have DHA, EPA, you have choline, you have saturated fat, and yes, cholesterol. These are essential nutrients for the body and the brain, and there's so many more that you absolutely have to have. And so if you're eating low fat, you are going to be depriving yourself of those nutrients.
Don't forget the organs. A lot of people, they're not eating organs, and they have specific nutrients in there that are specifically made towards what your organs are, like the heart, the liver, the kidney, and brain. If you've never eaten those things, it's unusual. People will go through their entire life never eating brain or any organ meat. It's crazy. They would just literally live their whole life eating muscle meat or something. It's weird.
And you will be nutrient deprived before we talk about anything else. But let's talk about these other things. If people were only
People are still nutrient deprived to this day.
eating lean meat, what would you get? Well, you'd get rabbit starvation or protein poisoning.
Yes, you would. Protein poisoning or rabbit starvation. I believe that. I kind of felt that at first.
And this was actually called that, rabbit starvation, because rabbits are very lean. They don't have much fat on them. And people that were exclusively eating rabbits, they would get extremely sick. They'd have voracious appetites. They couldn't eat enough. And they actually...
Yep. And then you end up consuming more and more. I had that problem. So in the beginning, when I started going back to the buffet, because I figured, I just go down here, I can just eat them as much as I want. I ate tons and tons and plates of steak. And my friend was like, how do you eat so much, man? You eat like 5 plates of steak. It's crazy. But now I ended up eating just 1 plate of steak. And my first plate is just a lot of fatty fish and then shrimp and then 1 plate of steak. But before I would go to the buffet, I would eat 5 plates of steak. And then I just couldn't figure out why I was just consuming so much, because I couldn't get enough fat in my diet.
She eventually died after a few weeks because this was very harmful to their bodies, eating very low fat, high protein. Think of bodybuilders now when they're cutting down for a competition, they eat very lean meat and they try to shred down as much as possible, and they can get very sick. They feel miserable across the board. Their hormones are screwed. They feel awful, and they say you can't sustain.
Yeah, because that's a bad thing, but I don't think they feel that bad, man. They're eating complex carbohydrates. They're eating carbs. Their muscles are filled with carbs, with glycogen. So, yeah, I don't think they feel that bad, man. They just feel bad because they missed the slave food peasant diet. That's why. They missed the drugs, their addiction. I don't think they're feeling bad, because people compensate for fat eating carbohydrates. They compensate because they're not getting fat. They're eating protein. This is the problem. A lot of people are eating these domesticated animals with no fat. They're eating a lot of meat, and then what do? They have a tendency to eat carbs to compensate for the lack of fat. That energy problem.
This your entire life, and not even throughout the year. You can only do this for a few weeks leading up to competition prep, and then you have to go off of it straight away. So eating very lean meat is not optimal for humans, to say the least, and it is not ancestrally appropriate or accurate.
But they're getting glycogen in there. They're getting carbs.
To say that humans did that. So now when people are saying that, well, we should eat lean meat, and this is what is more ancestrally appropriate, they're having health issues, and now they're starting to add back in carbohydrates because they think they're supposed to for some reason.
Well, see, there you go. They're adding carbohydrates back into their diet to compensate for the lack of fat.
Maybe to stave off the ill effects of the protein poisoning and other nutritional deficiencies that they're facing, and to get energy and to not feel as rotten as they did when they're just eating lean meat. However, if a high-fat carnivore diet isn't ancestrally appropriate going back 2 million years, how are eating carbs ancestrally appropriate that didn't even exist 2 million years ago, or not even 50,000 years ago during the last ice?
They didn't exist.
Stages. These are post-agricultural products and would not have been in the staple diet. We talk about how dairy was only added to the diet in the last 10 to 12,000 years. We see lactase persistence start to rise in the genome about that time. But we also see amylase starting to be produced in a wide proportion of humanity at around 10,000 years ago with the advent of agriculture. Prior to that, we did not have the genes to break down starchy vegetables properly. And so this is clear evidence that this was not a major staple of our diet. We were not eating carbs. So why would you replace fat with carbohydrates because you think fat is not ancestrally appropriate when you know that carbs are not ancestrally appropriate. Then there's this idea that being in ketosis long term, eating low carb or no carb long term is somehow detrimental to our health or our metabolism. This largely comes from the Ray Peat school of thought, which has been thoroughly debunked before it even started. I have a long video on this with my friend Richard Smith, and we go into gross detail about all the different studies in science and physiology behind this. We showed that the actual long-term studies on ketogenic diet actually showed that you get no drop in your metabolism, you get no drop in your thyroid function, you get no untoward elevated risk in your cortisol. And in fact, being in ketosis increases your basal metabolic rate by 350 kilocalories. So how are we saying that lowers your metabolism when
That's actually a good thing.
in fact, it is raising our metabolism demonstrably in scientific studies. Being in a ketogenic state also lowers and optimizes insulin and leptin. It removes leptin resistance, which improves metabolic function. So again, how is this slowing down our metabolism? There's an
You can never overeat on a carnivore diet. That's the thing. You can never overeat. You only ever overeat is because you're not getting enough fat. So you get the fat in first and then you eat the protein. So then you get enough protein because it's two-part, right? Your mitochondria need to run off this energy. The energy source is the fat, and the fat also has those nutrients that your cells want, right? They just want nutrients. It's known fact that human cells just want nutrients. They do not want these toxic plants, sugar and shit inside there. They just want nutrients which are only found in animal products. And so, yeah, the fat comes in, and then the protein will be, that fat will also will spare that protein because the energy will be used from the animal fat, whatever. So your brain will say, okay, we got enough fat. I mean, we got enough protein. But if you never get enough protein, you'll start over consuming a lot of protein. And then also you won't get enough fat. And that's the problem here. So the fat for, energy, and then the brain and protein, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah.
argument that long-term on a ketogenic diet, like a carnivore diet, you're going to start lowering your metabolism, you're going to start putting on fat. And yet I haven't eaten carbs in over a decade, and I don't put on fat even during...
Yeah, me neither. I don't put on anything. I lost weight, a lot of weight. I think there was a lot of fat around my organs and stuff, lower area. It just went completely away. Like, yeah. Like my waist area is so small. I think I went down 2-3 notches on my belt or some shit, bro. Even my pants are starting to fall off. So, yeah, I lost a lot of fat.
In COVID, when I couldn't work out, I remained very low body fat percentage, well under 10%, and very lean and muscular. And people kept asking me, how do you stay in such good shape? Do you have a gym at your house? Or you're just doing crazy calisthenics? What are you doing? And I would just...
People ask me the same thing, and I go, man, I just go down to the buffet.
I'm not doing anything. I haven't done push-ups in months.
Yep, they always ask me that at the buffet, do you work out? I go, no, I never work out. What do you do? Nothing. I eat this, what you see me eating here. I go protein. I just eat meat here when I'm here. Meat and fish and shit. I don't eat any of that slave food, man. And they're like, oh, okay.
This is all diet, because eating optimal nutrition is going to keep you...
That's right. Diet is everything.
Lean, strong, and healthy throughout the year, regardless of how much you exercise.
It'll even keep you fit, actually. It'll keep you fit, lean, strong, absolutely strong. You and positive nitrogen balance is associated with strength.
Exercise can improve your health, will improve your physique, will improve your fitness, but you don't have to.
No, it won't improve your health. Exercise won't improve your health. The food will improve your health. Those movements only make you better at doing them. That's all. They don't make you fit. The food is making you fit. So I disagree with that, what Dr. Shafee just said, that is going to, that so-called, whatever that guy was doing there, those exercises have something to do with health or whatever. They have nothing to do with health. They have nothing to do with longevity, and they have nothing to do with making you fit. They have everything to do with making you better at doing those movements. That's all. In order to be good at skateboarding, you have to practice at it. Does that make you healthy? Does that make you healthy? Now, you got better at skateboarding or doing these tricks or going tobogganing or, I don't know, ski boarding, skateboarding, whatever the fuck you call it, or rollerblading. Does that make you healthier? How does that make you healthy exactly? Explain that to me. So if you're on an unhealthy diet, eating crap all day, so that's going to make you healthy because you're rollerblading. I don't think so, dude. They make you, those things just make you better at doing those things. They have nothing to do with health or anything. Nothing, zero.
Do it to stay lean and keep your metabolism elevated. What are some hard examples of populations that don't eat carbohydrates, that eat high-fat carnivore, and have done so since time immemorial? Well, obviously, all of our ancestors throughout the ice ages, when they were eating megafauna, which are very high in fat, and they absolutely cultivated the fat and preferred it. This is why they went for the fattiest animals, like whales and mammoths. Also, the Inuit. These populations have been extremely closely studied for centuries, and they find that they are on a very high fat diet generationally. They stay very lean, very healthy throughout the year. They don't have metabolic diseases. They don't get chronic diseases. They don't slow their metabolism and gain weight. They're very lean throughout the year, even though they're eating 80, even 90% or more of their calories from fat, from animals, and no carbohydrates. The same is true of the Nanette in Siberian plains, also in Australia with the Australian Aboriginals, who would focus on the fattiest parts of the animal, like the kangaroo tail. And then, of course, you have Maggie White, who has been
Fat kangaroo, man. It's pretty good.
doing a carnivore diet for over 70 years and is very outspoken about how you need the fat. And she adds a lot of fat to all her meals. I've been to her house.
She does, but I bet you she doesn't eat enough skin, the animal skin, for her collagen. And what about organs? Does she eat organs? Does she eat the brain, the organs? I don't know. I don't really think so. I don't know. She's never mentioned it, so I wouldn't know. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. Doesn't seem like it. I don't know. Maybe too much muscle meat.
We've shared meals together. She eats a ton of fat. She gets at least 80% of her calories from fat. She says that's very important.
Yeah, fat is energy source, but collagen for your skin, you need to eat skin. In order to have good skin, I realized I have to eat more skin. That was my problem too. That's another issue I had. So I realized I have to go back and I have to start eating more skin. So yeah, where can I get it? Well, they have chicken feet and stuff. I can strip it off there. I could go back to the Asian market. They do sell like some skin stuff. They have it there, man. These skin and things, whatever. I can get them there. So even chicken feet, they have them wrapped up. They have them in these things. You can't make soups out of them, or you can just cut up the skin and just eat it like that. I can literally cut it up and eat it raw. I don't give a shit, man. I'm not a pussy, bro. I just would cut up the skin and just eat it. I don't care. I can blend it. Here's a better way. The chewing part is a lot of work. Chewing it. So I would take the skin off the chicken feet, right? Carve it off and put it into the blender, blend it, and you can drink it. So there's your collagen drink, right? These collagen powders, it's the same garbage. So you put it in there, you blend it up. Okay. They have bone marrow as well. I can eat bone marrow. I mean, what else is there? I can't remember. No, they do have some cow skin stuff I can buy literally and blend that too. I can blend it up too and drink it. It's collagen. So yeah, you should be taking these collagen like things, like skin and stuff, animal skin for your skin to make it look better. And you should be eating organs as well for your organs to keep your organs healthy.
To optimize health. She's been doing this for over 70 years. She's skinny as a rake. She's well muscled, and she still works on her ranch on a daily basis, herding cows, rebuilding fences.
Yeah, she looks good for age in her 80s, man, for sure.
Digging post holes and corralling raging bulls. She has absolutely no nutritional deficiencies.
But she's a slave, so she's suffering from. She could be suffering from a lot of cortisol in her blood because she's working physical. It's physically demanding. A ranch is physically demanding. That could add to the deterioration. But the fact that she's eating, so much fat meat, I mean, I don't know if she's in positive nitrogen balance all the time. It depends, right? Depends. Some people eat a lot. They don't. They do. It depends. I don't know.
In optimal peak health. She's on no medications and has no serious health issues whatsoever. The only problems she's had with her health are injuries she's sustained on the farm, and she's recovered from those faster than anybody you'd expect, and she's well into her 80s now, in her mid-80s, in fact. So this idea that we should be eating lean meat on a carnivore diet because somehow our ancestors ate lean meat because somebody went deer hunting once and cut off all the fat and thought that the muscle meat was lean is not only wrong, but it's going to get a lot of people hurt. Typically, people need need 1 to 2 grams of fat to 1 gram of protein. This is how they achieve optimal health, reverse these metabolic issues and diseases, and this is how they get enough nutrients like vitamin D3, K2, retinol, DHA, EPA, choline, saturated fat, cholesterol is all that we need to help optimize our body and our health.
It's like these guys promoting peptides. If you're not getting, they go, you should take these peptides. It'll increase collagen production in your body. Okay, so you're too lazy to eat food that is like, the skins of the animals to increase that collagen for your skin to look good. So you're willing to spend a lot of money, like hundreds of dollars, on these drugs like Goku, and inject yourself in the butt these peptides like Goku, man, what is it? GUKCU, injected so you can increase that collagen production. It's crazy, man, what people would do out there. I don't know, but whatever, man. Food is everything, dude. Positive nitrogen balance is important. So that's number one for sure. You're in anabolic growth state, so everything's starting to repair. So you're gonna need everything from the animal. If you're in an anabolic growth state, positive nitrogen balance, you're already prepped for repair. So you're gonna need all these things to get your body to start repairing. It'll be in that state automatically.
Especially for kids as they're growing. So important to get high-fat, animal-based nutrition.
I believe that kids growing, they definitely need to be anabolic growth. They need to be in positive nitrogen balance. They need a lot of fat.
When you are a child and developing your neurological system and your hormones during puberty. I've run blood work on hundreds of people, probably over 1,000 now, over the last 6 years in my medical practice, on people that have gone carnivore, and invariably their metabolic markers improve, their hormones improve, their thyroids often improve if they need to, and their nutrient levels improve across the board. So the idea that this is not optimal, that this will somehow cause a nutrient deficiency, or this will somehow slow your metabolism, or somehow the fat is bad for us, even though that's what we're evolved to eat, and these have essential nutrients that you have to have or you will get sick and die, is frankly ludicrous, and it will actually cause harm. And so hopefully this helps people understand.
It'll cause glycation, which will cause deterioration.
And that this is not the way forward. You should not eat a strictly lean diet because somehow people have been convinced that animals are sort of lean in the wild, even though they cherry pick rabbits and bunnies and deer and forget about the whales and the seals, polar bears, and the mammoths that people have actually been eating since time immemorial, and focusing on the fat and rendering that fat and combining it, like in the case of pemmican in the Great Plains, which again is 80% calories from fat, 2 grams of fat to 1 gram of protein. We even have evidence of mammoth drops going back over 1 million years of people chasing mammoths over a cliff and having them die at the bottom so they could harvest that big fatty meat so that they could survive and thrive. Even in medical textbooks like from Sir William Osler back in the early 1900s, talking about the optimal nutrition for diabetic patients type 1 and type 2, they say very clearly cut out all carbohydrates and eat a meat-based diet that has equal parts protein and fat by gram. So again, this is a very high-fat diet, and this showed a very good health outcome for very sick patients and diabetics before we had insulin or any modern medications for them. So any way you look at it, humans are high-fat carnivores, and the fat is necessary. These are essential nutrients that you have to have, or you can get sick and die, and you can run into very serious health problems. I encourage everybody to not fall into that trap. And also remember this, we have 5 organs all working in concert just to absorb fat. We have our stomach starts breaking down our food and releasing the fat. Our liver makes bile, our gallbladder stores it, and this bile breaks down and emulsifies that fat. The pancreas produces lipase and other enzymes that break this down and release it, and then once that has been emulsified and taken up by the bile, it is absorbed in the small intestine directly into your lymphatic system. It doesn't even go into your liver because it is so important. Your body just mainlines this into your bloodstream. So this is extremely important. Our body is set up explicitly to absorb fat. If fat was so harmful to us and wasn't appropriate, then we just wouldn't have all those organs set up to absorb it. Also, you have to think about the fact that our liver makes a specific amount of bile because it wants a specific amount of fat. After you run out of bile, you actually can't absorb over 90% of the fat that you eat. It will all go out in your stools. And so why, if fat is so bad for us, does our body make a specific amount of fat that just happens to be far too high for our body and our health? That makes no sense from a biological point of view. And this whole argument makes no sense from a biological evolution evolutionary biology point of view, a biochemical point of view, a physiological point of view, and just a reality point of view. Because the fact of the matter is, there are all sorts of animals in the wild that have very high proportions of fat, as long as you don't cut it off and throw it away. And our ancestors were eating megafauna and the fattiest animals that they could find. And when those died out, we cultivated animals that we could get as fat as possible and cultivated fatty dairy in order to get the fat, because it was essential for life. So thank you. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense. And just remember that
Is absolutely correct.
fat is healthy, so eat the damn fat.
It is, man. It's so healthy, man. My God, I can't get enough. Well, I grind up the fat in beef and then just eat it ground up, man, too, as well, raw. So I eat a combination still raw, some cooked stuff, but mostly raw now. It's all good, man. Eat a lot of fat. You need that in your diet. Eat a lot of fatty fish. It's amazing, man. That's why they say omega-3 fatty acids. You need amino acids and fatty acids, man. See you in the next one. Ciao, friends. Don't you think about that video. See you in the next one.